All right. Good morning, everyone. It's a bummer this morning. Angela cannot figure out how to connect. I'm not sure what the problem is, and this has happened to me before. I've um, I've had problems, using my phone or tablet to connect. Brother Afshin was going to do. Oh, and who? Michelle. Michelle. Oh, thank you. You are a lifesaver, Michelle. Michelle. Bless your heart, Michelle. I didn't want to have to do this alone, but let me just explain what's going on, because I'm gonna have to like change the title of the video after we're all done. Sister Angela came on before and she gave her testimony, and she's watching now. So hi, Angela, honey. I am so sorry that we couldn't figure it out, and this is where I just get so frustrated with myself, because I'm some things I'm really good at doing, but some of these technical things I am not good at all. And I'm not sure what the difference is. I've tried rebooting. I deleted the other one that I had started and redid it. So I'm not sure what's going on. Maybe if some of the men out there who are a little more tech suave, maybe they can help, because I couldn't figure out my phone and tablet, and I couldn't be on Afshin's Hangout that time. I was going to give my testimony about coming out of the Hebrew Roots movement and all of that. But praise God, his word's still going to go forth, and so at the last minute, Michelle was able to come on and join me this morning, and I haven't had a chance to. What's that, Michelle? Are you there, Michelle?
Yeah, I'm here. I said I did it by myself. I'm
You did
really
it by
shocked.
yourself. The women rule this morning. Oh man, yeah. And what I want to talk about this morning, because you and I didn't have a chance to talk beforehand, is I want to talk about the Proverbs 31 woman. And what I can do is, as we get started with this, I can go ahead and screen share so that everyone can follow along in the scriptures, because I kind of want to talk about, what does this mean for women? We've probably all heard of the Proverbs 31 woman, or sometimes it's called the Proverbs 31 wife. Okay, because in this account in Proverbs 31, the woman is married. And so, even if you're a man listening, or you're an unmarried woman, there are still things that we can all glean from, and learn as we go through this. So hopefully that's okay with you, Michelle, if we just kind of go through Proverbs 31 and just talk about like what we see this in, how this affects our own lives today. So hopefully that's okay with you. But let me go ahead and I'm going to mute for a minute so you can just introduce yourself.
Yeah, that's great with me. I just got done going back through Proverbs in January, and um, I really enjoy reading Proverbs because to me it's like a checkup on things, and I go to Proverbs a lot, and I love the part about the virtuous woman, and we need to check and see how we need to be doing things. I love studying women of the Bible because to me that's like, okay, what am I supposed to be doing? And if you study the women of the Bible in Proverbs, it gives you the to dos and the not to dos. So I enjoy studying that.
Sorry, I had to unmute my microphone. Yes, absolutely. We can learn a lot about the women of the Bible, from the great patriarchal women of the Bible, such as Sarah, Rebecca, even to the mother of Jesus Christ, Mary. And so maybe what I'll do, let me go ahead and let me make sure that I've got Proverbs 31 up on my screen, and I'll start screen sharing. Let's see. Okay, are you guys able to see Proverbs 31 here? Hopefully you can. Now,
Yes.
when I'm screen sharing, especially, when I'm on another website, I can't see the live chat. I mean, we're still pretty early on. There's really nobody commenting in there, but just so everyone knows, I can't see and respond when I'm screen sharing. Okay, so I've read through this a little bit this morning, just kind of trying to prepare. And always before I always started in verse 10, but we need to go back to the very first verse, because it's going to set up what the whole context of this is. So it starts off, the words of King Lemuel, the prophecy that his mother taught him. What, my son, and what the son of my womb, and what the son of my vows? Give not thy strength unto women, nor thy ways to that which destroyeth kings. Okay, so this is looking like this is a prophecy. This is something that this king's mother taught him. And so, number one, I see, since this became part of our scriptures, I see, obedience of the king, honor, reverence, respect, love to his mother. It goes on to say, it is not for kings, O Lemuel. It is not for kings to drink wine, nor for princes strong drink, lest they drink and forget the law and pervert the judgment of any of the afflicted. Okay, so this is going back to God's righteous laws. Give strong drink unto him that is ready to perish, and wine unto those that be of heavy hearts. And we're going to see, as we get down into the virtuous woman, what Scripture describes her doing, as far as being helpful to other people. Let him drink and forget his poverty, and remember his misery no more. Open thy mouth for the dumb in the cause of all such are as appointed to destruction. Open thy mouth, judge righteously, and plead the cause of the poor and needy. Okay, and so I want to stop there. What are your comments so far, Michelle, as we're kind of getting the context and who is going to be actually speaking this prophecy of the virtuous woman? It comes from another woman. You there, Michelle? Let me make sure she didn't accident.
Okay, I got it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's coming from another woman, a mother. I've always thought that I relate with this because she's warning her son, and I've got 3 of them and a daughter. So this helps me, and she's warning them about things from King Lemuel's words. So she's trying to give them instruction. Don't be drinking too much. Don't be forgetting about your laws, your morals. So that's what that's saying to me.
Right, don't forget God's laws. Don't forget to, worship and follow the Lord, because back during this time, I mean, obviously this was before Jesus Christ came, and they lived by faith, knowing that the Messiah would come. But yeah, excellent point, because I have 4 sons. I never had any daughters. I only had sons, and so this is pretty important, I think, to mothers out there. Whether your sons and daughters are really small, if you're a young mother, or if you're an older mother like me and Michelle, and our children are already grown, we still have to be able to instruct our children in the ways that he should go. And it reminds me of the other verse in Proverbs. Let's see, and I'm going by memory. Bring up a child in the way that he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. This is something that I have always tried to do with my children, is, teach them the Bible, teach them, the way, the truth, and the life, that is Jesus Christ, teaching them the truth, even though you can't make their decisions and their choices for them. I think, that verse, train up a child in the way that he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. That's a promise that, if you as parents, whether you're a mother or a father, are bringing your children up in the Lord, there's a promise that, even if they, go their whole adult life, and maybe they're, rebellious to the Lord, I believe it's a promise saying that, when they are old, they will not depart from it. We've all, I mean, especially me, even though I've been a Christian for over 40 years, there were times that I walked in rebellion to the Lord. But because my mother taught me the ways of the Lord, she trained me up, now that I am older. I mean, I don't want to say I'm old, not quite yet, but now that I'm older in life, and I have grown children, I can see that, yep, this promise is absolutely true in my own life, that, now that I'm older, I have not departed, nor will I ever depart from the truth of Scripture.
Yeah, that's the same with me. When I was a young girl, I went to church. I had a really good godly neighbor that I lived with my grandmother until I was like 13. And, I had her and my neighbor's daughter that pretty much took me under their wing and taught me about God. And, I strayed away for many, many years. And now that I'm older, it's like, okay, now, you know, it's like you learn important things and um what you should hold most important to you. And God's word and Christ are those things, and you try to instill that and implant that in your children. But like you said, they're going to make their own choices. And Abby was saying, um, yeah, it tells you what to do and how a woman should live. And so this is not for just the boys, I don't believe. It's for the girls as well,
Oh, absolutely. Because I think every woman, especially that is aware of this section of Scripture called, the virtuous woman, or the Proverbs 31 woman, or the Proverbs 31 wife. This is something that every woman should strive towards. And so that's why, I just really felt like, maybe we should, go through this and see, okay, how does these verses apply to our lives today? I mean, because there's things in here as we go through. I mean, not all of us, have literal vineyards that we plant. There could be some women that live on farms, where, they have to, plant their crops, to feed their family and their neighbors and their community. But the, and what word, my mind escapes me. The characteristics are still there. Okay, so hopefully it's still screen sharing, and you guys can still see the scriptures. Okay, so starting in verse 10. Who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. And this is something, I would hope that every mother would be praying for her sons, especially sons, but also for daughters. We want our daughters to find virtuous men, but we want our sons to find virtuous women. Okay. We want our children to marry godly men and women. Okay. So who can find a virtuous woman, for her price is far above rubies? The heart of her husband doth safely trust in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. Now, this is something, and this is for, I guess, the married women out there who are listening, and don't try to beat yourself up over this. Okay. But how many of us can honestly say, okay, well, my husband trusts me fully 100%. I mean, there's times that I think, well, maybe my husband, isn't trusting me as much in this area as he should. We should always strive, to have husbands that knows that when it comes to the things that we're entrusted to do, whether usually women are the ones who takes care of the household. They take care of the children, raising the children, the financial aspects. Okay. My hope is that, if you lack in this area of trust, that this will be an encouragement to you, that, if you need to work on, these trust issues, with your husband, that you will do so, and you will be encouraged, because it says, so that he shall have no need of spoil. Now, Michelle, what do these first two verses speak to you?
Well, with the boys, we've always tried to teach them to be good to um, their wife, their girlfriend, um, and with Abby, anybody that she would date, you always want to treat them just like it says, that their price is far above rubies. Treat them well. There's a situation right now that I know of that I am kind of dealing with, to where it's the boyfriend and the girlfriend, and there's not a lot of trust on one of the sides, and it's making the relationship pretty hard. So that's, and you sit back and you watch your children in these relationships, and you're thinking, okay, thank you, Jesus, he's doing, what we taught him to do. And now things are not working out because, he's not being trusted. And you have to have that, or the relationship, just like it says, it's going to spoil.
Yes, exactly. And you brought something up that, I'm going to talk about this delicately, but this is something that I have stressed to, all of my sons, when it comes to dating and having girlfriends. They're not married, but they're getting at that age, where they want to have lasting, meaningful relationships, hopefully that would lead to marriage. I mean, first of all, I pray that God would bring a Christian woman into their lives. But I have also told them, that you are to treat a woman with respect. Don't just use and abuse her, talking about, the physical aspects of a relationship, to save yourself for marriage. And what I remind them of is that, if you go ahead and end up having, premarital relations, with these women, and maybe they're virgins. Okay. Now this woman, even though you may not go on to marry her, I try to stress to them that they're going to be somebody's wife someday. And to basically just, you don't want to have a woman be, well, how do I say this tactfully? You should care enough about her that, even though you may not go on to marry her, respect her enough to know that, she's going to become somebody's wife. You know, A lot of times women get damaged when they allow themselves to be in these physical relationships outside of marriage. I've been guilty of this. I know the damage that it does to you as a person inside. And so if you just don't even go there, you set your moral, you set your standard, you're then protecting her so that when God brings the right man into her life, even though it may not be you, she will be the rubies in the eyes of the man that God intended for her to marry, if that makes sense. So I'm trying to say this as tactfully as I can. But I think it's important, that our sons and daughters, especially in today's day and age with, all the sexual promiscuity that's out there, that we, let them know that, you're not being a bore or a fuddy-duddy because you've remained a virgin until marriage. I think it's very important that our children understand this, and that they heed the scriptures and see scripture as that priceless jewel for themselves.
That's right. And there's nothing wrong with that. We always have to remember, that if we go against what the Bible tells us, there's repercussion for that, and you know, I'm not very tactful, Wendy. So sex before marriage, it talks against it, and it causes bad outcomes, if we don't do what God wants us to do. But it's not something that we can't overcome. And I think a lot of girls, especially, get if something happens and they have sex before marriage, and they're like, "Well, I'm just, ruined, or it's over," or no, no, that's not the case. You need to sit down and have a long talk with the Lord and get yourself back on the right track. Um, and talk to people about it. A lot of times you bottle these things up, and let's go to scripture and read things and find out how to help ourselves.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Because I realize, and that's why I mentioned, if you are a woman that has made this mistake, this sin, please do not feel like it's over for you. I'm damaged goods. I'm ruined. Now no good Christian man would want me because I'm damaged goods. We need to understand that Jesus will meet you right where you are. If you've accepted Jesus Christ, he's already forgiven that sin. It would be one of those cases, if you're truly convicted and you realize what you've done. What did Jesus say to the adulterous woman? He didn't condemn her, but he did say, go and sin no more. And so it may be that, you have to, put some safeguards in your life so that, you don't mess up in this area. And, this is one of those things. It can be very, very hard. It really, really can be. And women that have been abused, maybe women that have been raped or molested, will deal with this type of promiscuity because they're damaged because of rape or incest or molestation. But just know that you are a treasured gem in the eyes of God. Okay. And if you will just put your life in the Lord's hands, and if this is an area that you struggle in, give it to the Lord, like Michelle said, and he will help you. And, if you're not married and you desire a husband, you desired a godly man that loves Jesus Christ as you do, you put your faith in God first. You let Jesus Christ be your husband. There were many, many years that Jesus had to be my husband because I was alone, and even though I'm married now, he is still my husband. He's the lover of my soul. And so just, don't be hard on yourself, because obviously we can't go back and undo the things that we've already done. Just know that there's forgiveness there, and God can still bring that godly man or that godly woman into your life. Okay, so just continuing on. She will do him good and not evil all the days of her life. She seeketh wool and flax and worketh willingly with her hands. Now, um, I am just now at the point that I can say I'm really, really willing to do good and not evil to my husband all the days of my life. I can't go back and change my past. There were many, many evil things that I did, things that did him harm, and I'm talking about my husband that I'm married to now. I mean, we have a very long history. I won't go into, I've shared, that history in past videos. But as I am seeking the Lord and I am drawing closer to the Lord, he is changing my heart. When there's days that I feel like, oh, I just can't take this anymore. I'm always reminded, it's not about me. I can be a very selfish person, and I realize this about myself. And truly loving others means that you put them above yourself. And then, just to talk about, she seeketh wool and flax and worketh willingly with her hands. Okay, well, although I don't physically deal with, like making clothing from scratch, and I don't have, physical fields, where I go out, but I have been praying for well over a year, basically probably around the time that my father passed away and we lost a great deal of income. The desire to, in my own way, to seek wool and flax and working willingly with her hands, to help do my part to take care of my family. It was there, and I prayed and I prayed and I prayed about it, because I knew, okay, I'm going to have to work. What do I do? Because, I have a responsibility to take care of my family, but I didn't want something that God did not want me to have. And so I prayed very specifically that, any place that I would, send my resume to, that, if God wanted me to have that job, that he would open the door for me. And anything he didn't want me to have, he would just keep it slam shut. Well, like for over 6 months, it was, just slam shut, and I would get discouraged because I would see the continued struggling that my family was having. And of course, I still trusted God, and he still made a way. He still provided for us. But he knew the desire of my heart is to, take care of my family, to do my part, to do my share. And so that's why, when the whole lift thing came about, it just, everything went smoothly. There was no hindrance. There was no nothing. It just, that's what I'm to do. And he's brought many opportunities since driving for Lyft where I'm able to share here and there about my faith. And so what do you see in these two verses, Michelle, where when it says she will do him good and not evil all the days of her life, she seeketh wool and flax and worketh willingly with her hands. What does that speak to you personally?
The woman's desire to take care of her family. And you want, you have to put God first in every single thing that you do. And I've learned that over the years. Now, it took me a while, but you put him first, and he will help you provide for your family. Be good to your husband. Be good to your children. Provide the things that you need. I, I love to sew. I'm not able to, right now because I don't have the time. But you want your family to be provided for, have clothing. Back in those days, they made all their clothing and out of some of the prettiest materials and things. And to me, if I seems like if I was living back in those days, knowing what I know about sewing, I would want the best materials, the best, cloth and things like that. And you work hard to provide for your family.
Yes, amen. Because and that's what these next few verses is going to be getting into. Verse 14, and hopefully everyone can still see the scripture. I'm just keeping this on screen share. And again, just a reminder, I'm not in the live chat. I can't see if anybody's in there commenting. Hello to anyone who's listening that may be commenting. Thank you for joining me and Michelle, Angela. Wasn't able to connect. We had some issues. Michelle was gracious enough to join me at the last minute, so I wasn't flying solo. I mean, I certainly would have no problem going over this, by myself. But it's always nice to have another sister to talk to. Okay, so we are on verse 14 of Proverbs 31. She is like the merchant ships. She bringeth her food from afar. She riseth also while it is yet night, and giveth meat to her household, and a portion to her maidens. Okay, now, obviously, we need to see the context of what life was like back in Bible times. Okay, they this is saying the woman was in charge of feeding her family. And it's showing that, she's rising very early in the morning. She's making sure that her household is fed, and she has servants, and that she's making sure that all of her servants are well provided for. Okay, now, for me in my family, I've done a lot more to step up to the plate, so to speak. My mother-in-law had a stroke about a month ago. She had the best kind of stroke you could have. There's like three. And the one that you can fully come back, get all of your faculties back, was the kind that my mother-in-law had. And she's almost there. She's not quite there, but my mother-in-law was like the cook of the household. She would basically cook the evening meal, and everyone else just kind of fended for themselves, like for breakfast and lunch. Well, when she had the stroke, it like kicked us all in the pants, really, and it made us all step up to help her, because she does this. She rises early. She does the grocery shopping. She provides for all of us. And so now that she's not driving, either me or my father-in-law, when it's time to go get more milk, eggs, cheese, bread, anything that we need, it's usually me that goes to the grocery store and does the shopping. I mean, no, I don't have to go miles and miles away to bring the food to the household. We don't have servants, but we do have a very large extended family. And so we're all stepping up. We're all doing our part to take the burden off of just the one woman who did it all. And so that's kind of where I'm at as I'm reading these scriptures. Michelle, what do these two verses speak to you personally, and what have you noticed in your own family situation as far as these two verses?
Well, there's been times that, certainly we want to make sure that we got food for our family, um, and good items. So if you do have to go a little far to get the things that your family likes, mothers, moms, and wives do that. Um, and it talks about she rises also while it is yet night, and giveth meat to her household. And for some reason, every time I read that, I think about my grandmother. They were country cooks. One of them used a wood stove as long as I can remember to cook on, and she would be up way before daylight, before anybody else would be up, and have her biscuits cooked. And, because back then men went out in the fields in the morning and worked, and, you're on the ball making sure that your husband, your children have the things that they need. And, other family, like you were talking about your mother in law, I can relate to that right now too, because we have my mother in law and my dad are very sick. So we've got that to do in a day's time. Check on them, make sure they have what they need, and do a grocery run. Or so I feel like that's what that's saying.
Right. And we all probably see various aspects of these verses in our own lives, even though, many of us, we don't literally have to go and plant in fields and stuff, but we can definitely take the application, like you said, Michelle, maybe there's something special you want to treat your family with, maybe a dessert, maybe it's going to be a special occasion, and maybe the only place where you can get the ingredients or buy it already made, maybe you have to drive a little bit far to get this item. You want to make sure that obviously your household has the basic staples, the what do they say, the 5 food groups. But there's times that we want to treat our families, we want to just give them something special, and so maybe in those cases, you save up a little bit so that you can um provide something special. And, verses 10 through the end of the chapter, I read this at my mother's memorial service. This was, my mom was, I mean, no, she wasn't a perfect woman. She was a sinner saved by grace, just like I am. But my mom, she put everyone else and their needs before her own. And so this was such an important thing for me to read this and just kind of expound, the various little things that my mom would do for her family, as well as, the things that were important to her. Okay, continuing on. She considereth the field and buyeth it. With the fruit of her hands she planteth the vineyard. She girdeth her loins with strength and strengtheneth her arms. Okay, so verse 16, would be talking about food preparation, and yes, there's probably some men and women who might be listening that they live on a farm. They have maybe cows, chickens, maybe they do have a field, or maybe, they know what it means to, go out and plot out land and buy land so that you can plant, your grain or your corn or your wheat or whatever. And with the fruit of her hands, she planted the vineyard. Now, this kind of reminds me, okay, maybe she's done so well that she has extra, so she's able to go out and do a little bit more. And it could also mean, that she just has the available seed, to plant, grapes and various different things. Then it says she girdeth her loins with strength and strengtheneth her arms. Okay, now while this definitely can, mean just physical strength, to do lots of the things, you know, especially women in Bible times, you know, they did have to be strong, you know, they had to have this. But I see this also as, you know, maybe emotional strength, spiritual strength, you know, because you've got to bear the weight of your children, of your husband. You know, how many of us wives have had to just really sit and talk with our children, you know, when they're struggling through something, you know, or our husbands, you know, maybe they've had a really bad day at work, you know. So even when we feel we have no strength in us, we still have to extend that strength to be able to help our families, you know, our husbands, our children through difficult times. Because, you know, going back up, you know, she will do him good and not evil all the days of her life. And so she's going to make sure that, you know, when he's weak, she's going to be strong for him. And when she's weak, her husband is going to be strong for her. That's kind of what I'm seeing in verses 16 and 17. What do you see when you read these two verses, Michelle?
Absolutely. That what you said, when he's weak, you're strong. When you're weak, he's strong. That's the way that a relationship has to work. Um, there's been times in my life that I've had to sit down and say, Lord, please help me because I'm not strong. Please give me strength. It sounds like the Lord has really blessed this lady. And that's why it's such a good example. Um, because it tells you what you need to do. And um, if your husband's weak, um, pick up and do. I had to pray for strength one time because I typically was not really, I'm not going to say I wasn't strong in a lot of areas, and but my husband was. And we had some trying times to where I had to pray, say, Lord, please give me strength through this because without him, I couldn't have done it. And I know that. And I'm so thankful and gracious for it. And but it has to be a one on, you know, two people working together, putting God first in their life, and He will give you that strength that you need to push through the hard times. Um,
Oh yeah, amen. You know, like you know, when my husband's mother, you know, got really sick with the stroke, you know, he was just beside himself. You know, I had to, you know, just be there. I had to be there for the children, you know, and even when my own parents passed away, you know, yes, I was feeling the grief and the sorrow inside, but the only person who got me through that kept me strong. It's not that I was strong. It was Jesus Christ who held me up because I had to help my children. I had to be able to sit and talk with my children if they wanted to talk about their Grammy or their papa. You know, I had to be strong inside and not. I mean, it's not that I couldn't, and there were times that I did break down and cry. That's natural, but I couldn't just fall apart when so many people needed me to be strong to help them through it. And in turn, God helped me through that. You know, and so
amen.
this is what I think that these verses, you know, more than likely are talking about, and it could be applied in so many different scenarios and situations. Okay, so continuing on in verse 18, she perceiveth that her merchandise is good, her candle goeth not out by night. She layeth her hands to the spindle, and her hands hold the distaff. Okay, now this makes me think of you because you said, you know, that you like to sew. You're not able to at the moment, but you know, perceiving that your merchandise is good, her candle goeth not out by night. Um, whatever you would consider your merchandise to be, I think it's having confidence in what it is that you're good at. um some people cook for a living. Some people are nurses and doctors. Okay. I think we could consider, this, merchandise is good, whether it be, maybe this woman, owns a store. Okay. Well, she's going to have, confidence that, what she sells, that in turn provides for her family, that it's good. She's not going to have, corruption and deceitful things. She's not going to portray her customers as kind of how I look at this, because then that's going to put a bad name on her family, on her husband, as we see, down further. And then it says, she layeth her hands to the spindle, and her hands hold the distaff. What do these two verses say to you, Michelle?
I think it's talking about everything you said there. Maybe another perception of it is your morals. Uh, you need to be a light. The Bible talks about being a light to others and showing Jesus through you. And it kind of makes me think in that way, because if
Yeah,
you
yeah. Yep.
if, if you keep your a good name for, I tell the kids a lot of times, all you've got your word. So
Yep,
if you
your word is your bond.
yeah, so if you tell someone, that you're going to do something, you always need to try to do that, and always be a helper, and try to strive to be a good person, help others, work hard. You've got to work. Don't let that candle go out. You need light to see by. You need um, clothes to wear, things like that. So always be willing to work and do the things that God wants you to do, and He'll help you. He'll provide for you if you're working for Him and putting Him first in your life. I think every time, a lot of this goes back to Him. Put Him first, and that stays in my mind. So
Well, yeah, and like her can't, you just saying that, it reminded me, sometimes, we've all heard the saying, well, he or she is burning the candle at both ends. Well, that's something none of us want to do, where we get so burned out that we're just no good to no one. I mean, there is a time and a place to make sure that you're taking care of yourself, because if you are just frazzled and you wear yourself down to just where there's nothing, in other words, burning the candle at both ends, you're no good to anyone. My father's best friend, who was his band member when they had the country western band, whenever he would call to check on my dad, he used to take care of his mother, and until she passed away. And he would remind me over and over again to make sure that I'm taking care of myself, to make sure that I'm getting good nutrition, to make sure that I'm getting enough sleep. Because as a caregiver, if you don't take care of yourself and make sure you have the things that you need, if you just, burn your candle out at both ends, you're not going to be any good to take care of the one that desperately is depending on you. And so that's kind of what I see as, we're reading, she perceiveth that her merchandise is good, her candle goeth not out by night. But also, like you said, Michelle, we want people to see Jesus in us. We don't want them to see us because, we're wicked, our hearts are wicked, who can know it. But when Jesus is that candlelight, that candle shining brightly in us, it will never go out. It'll shine day and night. So that's kind of, you were talking there, and it just kind of, brought a little bit more to my mind.
yeah, and that
Uh,
that subject that you just brought up, has come up in so many conversations I've had this week. People are just trying to do so much and are just so dragged down, and you got to stop. And I sit a lot of times before I go to bed at night and just I talk to the Lord. I do every night. But when I get that way, I need more time talking to God. And that always seems to help me push through and get a new breath so that I can continue going. But you do need the rest time. And please don't forget that, because I've been there myself as well. And if you just wear yourself out, and you're not going to be good to the people around you that need you. So you got to make that time.
Well, and you're not, sometimes we might, we may feel tempted to think, well, I'm just being selfish, putting my needs before, somebody else. I don't, I mean, obviously that can be what's happening. You have to be able to, really look at your situation, but like if you're a caregiver and you're not getting enough rest, you're not getting enough good nutrition, you're going to be an absolute mess. You'll be too tired. Your mind might go hazy or fuzzy, in critical decision makings, life and death type things. So it's not being selfish to make sure, that you get a good 8 hours of sleep at night, even if it means, okay, if the availability is there to you, to have somebody, take over for a few hours, maybe so you can go get, an hour or two nap or something like that. With my family, there was more than enough people here that, when I needed to go to bed early, there was many other people that were here to, help take care of my dad, or if my mind was just, just weighed down and I just needed to get out of the house for a few hours, there was more than enough people. I mean, make sure that you have a good support system around you, and that doesn't mean that you're slacking in your responsibilities to your family. It's also helping, I think, everyone else do what, scripture is calling them to do. Okay, so verse 20 and 21. She stretcheth out her hand to the poor, yea, she reacheth forth her hands to the needy. She is not afraid of the snow for her household, for all her household are clothed with scarlet. Now, verse 20, this one really spoke out to me as far as my mother when I read through this for her memorial, because at the church that she attended, she worked at the food bank. I don't remember now if they did it every week or if they did it once a month, but she was like the bathroom guard. She would make sure that, if, because this was open to, not just, church members, but to the whole community. She would, make sure people weren't, just roaming around the church aimlessly. She made sure, if they needed to go to the bathroom, they knew where the bathroom was. But she was very vigilant about this, and, my mom didn't have a lot of money. She basically, I mean, I had to say it, she lived in poverty. She had just enough to pay, her bills and everything, but yet God still provided. And, when she felt the Lord, lead her to give, she did stretch out her hand to the poor, and she helped the needy to the very best of her ability. And God always made sure that she had what was needed to give to somebody that was in need. And then she is not afraid of the snow for her household, for all her household are clothed with scarlet. This makes me think of, warm clothing, that, the different seasons, literal seasons, that, it's not going to be a hindrance to her household, that her children, her husband, her maidens, the servants are always going to have the type of clothing that they need. What does this speak to you, Michelle?
The same. I think um, she's being prepared um, for any kind of situation that might come up. Um, Being ready for, have plenty of supplies on hand to tackle anything that could come through her week or day. And that's what I'm thinking too. And you know, with helping the needy, if if I see anybody in need, I try to always try to help. And it may not everybody always thinks of money, but sometimes it's just not that. Maybe companionship or someone to talk to, or somebody's lonely. I mean, don't think of everything in the money aspect of it, because you might run across someone that just needs to sit and talk to someone. Um, I know a little lady right now that sits by herself a lot, and a phone call, she appreciates it so much, just to be able to sit and talk for maybe 15 or 20 minutes on the phone, so it's not always money. But verse 21, I that says, I think it means just to be prepared for the cold, the hot, try to have enough things on hand to that you can provide any situation, that might come up, even if you find someone in need. Maybe keep some spare food on hand. Um,
Well, yeah,
that's
and you and I had talked about this in I think the last hangout we did. We were talking about how much of the churches now, they don't help those in their community. And so this is great, because this is, taking us back to this topic, that we are to help those in need. It's not just, only those that are church members in this church. No, God will bring to you those who truly desperately need you. And we're, because yes, she's taking care of her household, but she stretched out her hand to the poor. Yea, she reaches forth her hands to the needy. These are people that aren't part of her household, but yet she still helps them anyways, because that's the type of person she is. This is the type of person that God wants every man and woman to be as well. So verse 22, she maketh herself coverings of tapestry. Her clothing is silk and purple. Her husband is known in the gates when he sitteth among the elders of the land. And so this is letting me know, that, her husband probably um, is among the well-known, now, yeah, I realize that not everybody's husband is literally going to be, um, you know, important to, well, how do I say this? Well, our husbands are important to many people, whether he's somebody important as far as, you know, um, what you would consider elders of the land, prominent people. But, your husband is going to be important to many people. He should be important to you. He should be important to his children. He would be important to his boss. And this is this makes me think of, you know, the virtuous wife is not going to do anything that would bring shame to her husband, especially if he is well known in the gates. If he does have a place of prominency. Um, and again, maketh herself coverings of tapestry, her clothing is silk and purple. Um, this just makes me think of, literally it could be, that, you know, she's a little well off, and she makes sure that, her clothing is is fair that it has all of this, but I think more so it's just, with what she has to do and deal with, she makes everything the best it can possibly be within the means that she has to work with.
It sounds to me like that she's a strong backbone for her husband, and she wouldn't, and very like she's virtuous, so she's not going to want to do anything. Yeah, and I'm with you. It's like the purple, the scarlet. Typically, that's more of your well well-to-do people.
Well, and then we get a sense of like prominency, like kingship, silk and purple, because if we go up, you know this is talking about the king's mother who is telling all of this. So of course, the literal mother of King Lemuel, um, she did all of this. So him being a king, he would have that fine silk and scarlet and these types of things. Okay, so verse 24, she maketh fine linen and selleth it, and delivereth girdles unto the merchant. Strength and honor are her clothing, and she shall rejoice in time to come. Okay, so yeah, I mean, she literally, the women in these Bible times, I believe more than likely all, I'm sure there was some cases, where the women, especially if they were very rich and well off to do, they probably had servants do everything. But most women, they had to do everything by hand. And so, this is definitely a woman that, worked with fine linen. She knew how to sell it to bring in the best revenue and income. And to provide for the merchants, because if she's providing for the merchants, she's also making sure that their needs and their families are being provided for, because when they turn around and sell what she's made, then they're able to provide for their families as well. So it's kind of like, I call it like this paying forward. She was very she knew exactly what she was doing to just pay this forward and help more people. Strength and honor are her clothing. Okay, so yes, it's talking about literal clothing, but strength and honor. She was an honorable woman. She had strength. She helped her husband, and it says, and she shall rejoice in time to come. So what does this make you think of, Michelle? These
Going
two
back,
verses.
going back, and remembering that she is a king's mother, and understanding that she was most likely pretty wealthy, and her still reaching out to the needy and showing all of these great traits in someone that's wealthy. And I think it's showing all through this that this is a woman that was just outstanding in all of her ways. um and sounds like, I think we're getting ready to talk about wisdom. um so that's something too, that she's trying to talk to her son. um Kids and things need to understand and remember, think about your mother and what she's been through, and you listen to what she's saying, because most mothers are pretty wise.
Yeah, let's read these next two verses, because that made me think of something. She openeth her mouth with wisdom, and in her tongue is the law of kindness. She looketh well to the ways of her household, and eateth not the bread of idleness. You know, many of us, and I've been guilty of this. There's been far too many times, I get pretty bored. I should not be idle. There's always something that I can do that would help my family. Now I'm driving quite a bit. But yes, the wisdom, because what did she say in the very beginning? She said, "What, my son, and what the son of my womb, and what the son of my vows? Give not thy strength unto women, nor thy ways to that which destroyeth kings. It is not for kings, O Lemuel, it is not for kings to drink wine, nor for princes strong drink, lest they drink and forget the law and pervert the judgment of any of the afflicted." You know, so I know many, and and I was this way too. We probably all can remember back when we were teenagers, when we thought we knew more than our parents. And then, years down the road, maybe we become parents, and now we're parents of teenagers. And then we realize, okay, our children are treating us exactly the way that we treated our parents. And you know what? Maybe my parents weren't so dumb after all. Maybe they knew what they were talking about. You know, hopefully, if we can train up our children in the ways of the Lord, they will come to this knowledge a lot sooner rather than later. Um, and so just understand, if there's any youth that might be listening now, maybe you're still young, you're in your early 20s. Um, your mother and your father, they have wisdom. They've lived longer than you. They've lived in the world. They know what's going on. And especially if they know the Lord, you do need to listen to them. And it also talks about, and in her tongue is the law of kindness. You know, I need to work on, having more kindness. Sometimes I think, I might be too harsh. I'm not an Edith Bunker. I do tell it like it is, and sometimes, that rubs people the wrong way. But I can always work on showing more kindness, especially when I'm speaking to people. She looketh well to the ways of her household, and eateth not the bread of idleness. This could also mean, idle chit chat, not dealing, with gossip, that sort of thing, just making sure that you stay busy, um, you know, just not being idle.
Yeah, I think that idleness is, like you said, there's always something to do. And come on, let's face it, who any mother and their kids come and praise her and, say, "Thank you, mom, for what you've done." It gives you a warm feeling inside. Um, so that I think that's the biggest thing, and the most payment that you could ever give a mother is, saying thank you for what you've done, what you've told me through the years, or how you've helped me, and the example that you've been to me. And I know my grandmother was, and my aunt, and I really looked up to those ladies. My mother-in-law now, um, watching them through their lives and understanding the things that they went through, they were such a blessing to me. The strength that they had was amazing. Um, and that taught
Well,
me,
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
yeah, that taught me to be humble for one, because I saw my grandmother and my mother in situations that, when I was a lot younger, I'd have just went ballistic, but they dealt with it. They didn't argue. Now my grandmother was a little bit more outspoken than my mom. She's one of those ladies that she would tell you whether you wanted to hear it, and you might get a good cussing, and that was okay with her at the end of the day, as long as she got her point across to you and what she meant to tell you. Now, my mom was a little different. She was a little more soft spoken. Now, listen to what I'm telling you, honey. And sometimes you know yourself with your different children, um, how you may need to talk to them. Some you can come across really softly with, and then others, maybe not so much. You might have to get a little rougher with them to get them to understand what you're trying to say.
Yes, and verse 28 and 29 really, really speaks to me. Her children arise up and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praiseth her. Many daughters have done virtuously, but thou excellest them all. You know, and I realize, not everyone will do this. I mean, I strongly encourage, if you have the means, or do something similar. What I did to honor both of my parents was, when they got sick, as a family, we all came together and we gave them a celebration of life party. This was a time when the whole family came together, when they were still with us. I didn't want to talk about, the wonderful qualities, of my mom and dad after they're already gone. I wanted them to be able to join in, when they could, hear what I had to say, or hear, what my sister had to say, or their grandchildren. It was the best way I knew how to honor them, to just thank them for all that they had, given to their family, and so this is, what we did. Her children arise up and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praiseth her. Many daughters have done virtuously, but thou excellest them all. Um, there's always ways that you can honor your mother and your father. There may be something that you can do that's special for your family, and somebody else may do it in a different way. I don't think it matters, how you do it, just that you do it. Maybe you're a person that, you really don't give cards, or maybe you're not a hugger. you know Maybe step out of your comfort zone and, do something that would really mean a lot to your parents or your grandparents, so that they know, while they're still with you, how much they're loved, how much they're appreciated. And of course, it says, many daughters have done virtuously, but thou excellest them all. This doesn't have to just be daughters that, you know, um, call their mother or their father bless. Sons need to be doing this as well. It's for, sons and daughters. And then I'll go ahead and close out the last two verses, and then we can get your thoughts, Michelle. Favor is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman that feareth the Lord, she shall be praised. Give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gates. You know, yes, beauty is vain. As you get older, you're going to see lots of things change, as far as, your physical beauty. Favor is deceitful. You know, giving honor, uh where honor is due to your parents, that's part of, you know obeying your parents, honoring your parents. It's not so much, a deceitfulness. And favor is deceitful. I look at this as, the scripture tells us, that we're not to, we're to be, oh, what word am I looking for? We're supposed to, not honor one person more than another. God is no respecter of persons. But see, this is all about a woman that feareth the Lord, she shall be praised. And so this woman, this king's mother, was a woman that feared the Lord. She served the Lord. And then it says, give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gates. And so she's done all of these wonderful things, and many of us feel like, well, I can never attain this. I can never be this woman. Well, we should strive. We should, know with what God has blessed us with, as far as, talents and gifts. And, you don't have to be, literally rich in order to do many of these things. First and foremost, you love the Lord, you fear the Lord, and you follow him, and he will make sure that you were able to be this Proverbs 31 woman. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing, but let me get your thoughts, Michelle, as we close out this proverb.
Yeah, like I say, I tell my kids all the time, y'all are handsome, beautiful. Make sure your heart is the same way. And make sure you're a beautiful person inside and out. And always remember to keep God first in everything that you do. And Proverbs is Proverbs 31 is something that I like to just time to time sit down and just read as a refresher and make sure I am doing the things that God would have me to do as a woman. And I think we all need to do that. Always check yourself to make sure that you're doing everything you possibly can to serve God and to be pleasing to Him. I don't look for any, um, I try to do things for my family, my children. I'm not looking for any thank yous or attaboys or anything like that. I'm looking to please God and what He would have me to do. So, and Proverbs 31 is just an all around good chapter for women to always try to go by. And like you said, we're not, sometimes we're just not going to measure up, and that's okay. We have to strive. Every day I get up and say, okay, Lord, I messed up yesterday. Help me today. We just have to strive to do the best that we can with the Lord's help.
It might help if I unmuted myself. Just wanted to let everyone know why I wasn't in the live chat when I was screen sharing and going through the reading of Proverbs 31. I can't do that and monitor the chat. I'm not sure.
Let me say I'm sorry too, because I don't even know at this point how to look at the live chat.
Yeah, Joni, did your I noticed you timed out like this person Philly cheesesteak. I haven't been able to read every message. I read some of this person's. I don't think. I mean, maybe did you have a hacker that was going in and deleting Philly cheesesteaks stuff because um I don't think that they were being wrong. So maybe that was just like a fluke that happened on your end. Thank you though for trying to get my back while I'm not in the live chat. I think Philly cheesesteak is okay. You don't need to time out or delete comments. I do apologize. If like something happened and I'm not sure exactly what happened there. Hi Ricky, hi sister. Yep, I'm doing okay. Hi Angela, she's who couldn't come on with me. We tried a couple of times and she couldn't connect, and so Michelle was gracious enough to go ahead and join me, so I'm not just talking by myself. But yeah, we just went over all of Proverbs 31, talking about the virtuous woman and what that means, and how can even men apply the the scriptures of Proverbs 31. How can men apply this to their lives? I mean, I don't think, even when we can see, this is talking about a woman. I mean, there's obviously things that both men and women can uh, can benefit from these scriptures.
Yep, she's talking to her son. So there's definitely some things in there that a man could certainly use.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, so what do we want to talk about now, Michelle? Was there anything else that you thought of from Proverbs 31 that might be helpful? Oh, Michelle, are you still there? You're muted.
Okay,
There,
yeah.
there you go.
Yeah, no, I think that covers everything. And this was really spur of the moment for me. I was just sitting here browsing through my email, and when you asked me to join, I just kind of looked around and thought, well, it looks pretty safe, but I'm actually sitting in my kitchen with just everything going on around me. So
Gotcha.
um, but I believe that I love these top hangouts. I love just sitting and listening because it's so much encouragement to me. I encourage every lady to find them a group of ladies to watch and talk to. Um, it's like I told Merle, I love you, I do, but I need ladies to talk with too, you know. So make sure that you're getting. It's such a support to be able to sit on here and listen to you ladies talk. And, you know, a lot of times I'll be sitting there thinking, hey, that's what I was talking to a friend last night, in fact. And, you know, as she was talking to me, you know, I'm getting older and I've got some health issues going on. I'm getting some arthritis in some bones that from a car accident I was in. And some days it's really hard. Well, just understand, you know, her understanding what I was going through was really a blessing to me. And I'm sure that, you know, if you talk to someone that has some of the same issues that you have, just, you know, somebody there to understand and to pray for you is such a blessing.
Oh yeah, like I deal, with health issues. I'm not sure exactly what your health issues are, Michelle, but like for me, I have degenerative arthritis in my lower back, and that's something I inherited from my dad. And so it's like yesterday we went out of town and got back not quite 6:30 in the evening, but I was so tired, and I think I got too hot riding in the car, and I started feeling sick, and so I just went to bed at 6:30 last night. I didn't even get on my computer and check emails or anything. I just went changed my clothes and went straight to bed, and woke up at 5 this morning. And I thought, doing this girls night out, even though it's like, a morning coffee hour, do it this morning, because we're still dealing with some issues with our car. It's like yesterday, me and my husband and my mother-in-law had to go out of town, and like halfway up there, our check engine light came on. And my husband's so upset because we just got done getting the car out of the shop, and we're wondering, okay, what did they do? Did they unplug a wire or something like that? They did tell us, we needed new spark plugs. And so when we got home, my husband, with the help of his brother, had a special like a computer thing that could scan the codes in your engine or something like that to see exactly what's going on. Well, it is the spark plugs. And so here in just a little bit, I need to go wake my husband up so he can go down to the auto parts store and get those spark plugs, and hopefully that will take care of it. And then I'll probably be able to get back to work this afternoon driving. But if not, now I've had 4 days off, which, I mean, it's been nice, but I really enjoy doing this driving for Lyft. It just helps me. Just I don't know. I just really enjoy driving and meeting new people. But yeah, so that's why I thought, I'd go ahead and do girls' night out today while I'm home and have time. But I still have to deal with like the back problem. Sometimes I end up driving for like hours and hours, and my back gets really, really stiff. And so I try to remember to stretch and stuff like that. So yeah, as we get older, our bodies seem to really, really fall apart.
Yeah, it's like 40 was kind of hard. 50, it got a little harder. So you kind of waiting to see what ache or pain might pop up next.
Yep, yep. And I'm reading what you're writing, Philly cheesesteak. I think you're talking about these kind of hangouts. I don't think you're talking about homosexuality. Gosh, I hope you're not talking about homosexuality, because that's something I will I will always talk against. Um, but yeah, these hangouts, the girls' night out. It's mainly for women, for Christian women, but there's always going to be men that tune in. Bill's at times Bill has joined us. Even Michelle's husband has joined us. Anna and Scott from Pure Word Ministries, they've joined at times. So I don't want to exclude any men, obviously, but just know it, any men out there listening, that we may go on and touch things that really truly only deal with women, like we've talked about menopause. But of course, men that are married to women that are going through menopause, we try to include you. And last time me and Michelle, laughed because she said that when she was going through menopause, she almost froze her husband out. So I mean, I think there's things that men can benefit from too. If they choose to join in for girls' night out.
Men can be experts on a lot of women issues.
Oh, yeah. And Bill is really good to deal with women. He's got a pretty good understanding of women and how emotional they can get. He said one time that you know men might, if they get in a tiff or an argument with each other, they get over it in 20 minutes. Women, on the other hand, they will carry it and hold their grudges for like months, and I have a really big problem with that. If I get hurt deeply by somebody, whether it's a man or a woman, I can carry that pain inside me for over a year. I mean, sometimes years, And so, yeah, women definitely. It's almost like we're a different species, even though we're not. I'm making light of that, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm not ready to talk to you yet, so you might need to walk away for another couple hours and come back.
right, right, right. And our husbands, they do the best they can. I'm the type of person, my husband's been much more attuned to me. I keep everything in and I don't talk about it, but he can tell in my demeanor that I'm really mad at him, or I'm ignoring him or something like that. And I told him, if it's been too long, and we haven't had, any serious conversation, you probably better ask me if I'm mad or upset about something. And, he's been trying to be more proactive with that, but see, he's doing what he knows he needs to do to make sure that his wife is taken care of. Like Bill says, a happy wife is a happy life. But on the flip side of that, I can't lie. If I'm upset with him about something, I need to be able to say, yes, honey, I'm actually really mad at you right now. And I need to be able to tell him instead of, no, I'm fine. Everything's fine, and I do that too. And so, I mean, there's a lot of work that I have to work on, and it's all about communicating, with your spouse or even with your children.
Amen. It is, and I'm the world's worst too. I'll just hold it in, or if I'm mad, and Merle will usually come and say, "Honey, are you okay?" And give me that look like I don't even know if I really want to ask that, um, but he's always been real good about that because I mean they know you better than anybody else and can usually tell, just right away if something's wrong. So if he says, "Honey, are you okay?" and I'm mad at him about something, I'm gonna tell him, "Yeah, I'm upset at you, well, for whatever reason." And we usually, there's been times that we've had to get space before and then come back a little later and talk about it. And you have to. You have to talk about things and be good to each other. I mean, that's,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Many people, and me and my husband, we're this way too. I mean, sometimes he gets really upset, at me or about a situation we're going through, and he'll do his kind of like ranting and raving, and he'll walk away, and I just sit there and I'm like, okay, he'll be back in probably 15-20 minutes, and he usually does, comes back, he's calmed down, and we able to talk and stuff, but and every couple has their own way that they deal with it. I mean, my hope is for those of you listening who are married, that you don't do things in a way that's unhealthy or that could be harmful or dangerous. I mean, obviously, if you're so angry at a situation or a spouse that you feel like you could, hit something or someone, you need to walk away. You need to, go for a walk or go for a drive,
Amen.
calm yourself down, because too many things happen, out of rage, when your emotions are just out of control. You need to definitely, do something if you're feeling like things are getting out of control. So, yep, that's yeah, Philly said women are from our bones, but very, very different. Yeah, it's like that, I mean, I almost feel like, we're we're different species, but that's how God made us. God made women, the weaker vessel, and God made men, I think, strong enough to be able to handle various situations, and sometimes, men don't, they end up abusing their wives, and that's not a good situation if you're a man that you abuse your wife or your children. You definitely, seek the Lord if this is something that you're struggling with, because God can help you to overcome this, and maybe talk with your pastor if you deal with like rage issues, that sort of thing.
Yeah, talk to someone because, a lot of times you feel like you're the only one that has some sort of issue like that. And you're not. There's somebody out there that would probably love to sit down and talk to you about it, that's overcome it, help you pray about it. A lot of times people ask for prayer, but they don't say why they need it. I think
Right.
that
Don't be ashamed to tell somebody what you're struggling with, and you can just, let your, close brothers and sisters, you don't have to, always tell, strangers, unless it's somebody that, you trust, like your pastor or something
yeah.
like that. Well, was there anything else that we wanted to cover, Michelle? We've been going for about a little over an hour and a half. Maybe this is I mean, unless there's something else that you wanted to talk about, this might be a good time to go ahead and close her out, because I got to go wake my husband up. He's got to go get the the spark plugs for the car.
My dogs are getting ready to go ballistic because my husband just pulled back in the driveway. So I think this might be a good
Just need a
starting
good time
point.
to. Okay, well, tell Merle I said hi, and hopefully things are calming down there at your house, and let Merle know that I'm keeping everything in prayer, with everything that's going on over there.
Thank
And
you.
tell him, reach out to me, when he feels like it. I'm always here. I might be, hopefully I'll end up being on the road working a little bit by this afternoon. So all right, guys. Well, thank you, Michelle, for being able to join me at the last minute. Hopefully, we'll be able to get Angela on again. Maybe for the next one, we'll try to figure out, tablets and phones and stuff. So, all right, guys, you guys be blessed and take care. Shalom.